We live in a world where everyone talks too fast, reacts too quickly, and says far more than they should. People argue to win, speak to prove their worth, and rush to defend themselves the moment they feel challenged. But what if real power never belonged to the loud ones at all? The Stoics understood a truth most people still overlook. When you master silence, you master the field, because silence is control. Silence is strategy. Silence is the space where the mind sharpens and the intentions of others become clear. Think about it carefully. The person who reacts the least holds the most leverage. The one who doesn't explain, doesn't rush, and doesn't try to impress is the one everyone ends up watching. Today, you're going to learn how to outsmart anyone without saying a single word. Not through manipulation, not through aggression, but through stoic intelligence, the quiet kind that cannot be predicted, provoked, or defeated. Before we begin, comment. My silence is my power. 1. Breaking manipulation through silence. Manipulators don't fear your strength. They fear your silence. They fear the moment you stop feeding them the reactions that keep their control alive. They thrive on emotional chaos. They bait you with accusations, guilt, confusion, and subtle disrespect, hoping you'll rush to defend yourself. The second you react, they reshape your response into a weapon against you. What they never expect is the person who refuses to play. Silence is the moment you take the script out of their hands. When you withhold your reaction, their confidence starts to crack. The rhythm they depend on collapses. They expect outrage, explanations, panic, or emotional repair. Instead, they meet stillness. That stillness forces their intentions into the open because nothing distracts from what they're trying to hide. Your silence doesn't protect them, it exposes them. Manipulation requires participation. One person twists reality, another rushes to correct it. One pushes guilt, another absorbs it. But when you step out of the cycle, the manipulator is left alone with their own tactics. Without your emotional energy, their strategy has no fuel. Their words fall flat, their pressure weakens, their control dissolves. Your silence becomes a boundary they cannot cross. Imagine someone throwing a passive jab, expecting you to defend yourself so they can accuse you of overreacting. Instead, you stay calm and give them nothing. The silence hangs heavy in the air. They are forced to confront what they said because you're no longer covering it with emotional noise. In that moment, you are no longer being evaluated. They are. This is the quiet authority the Stoics valued. The ability to remain unmoved when someone tries to hijack your emotions. You choose clarity over chaos. You choose restraint over reactivity. That choice makes you unpredictable, unmanipulable, and impossible to dominate. Those who rely on control eventually abandon the people they cannot influence. They can't twist a reaction you never gave. They can't weaponize a silence that belongs fully to you. Let them talk themselves into circles. Let them reveal their insecurity as they push harder for a response that never comes. Let them face the discomfort of themselves without your emotional interference. You stay grounded, you stay still, you stay free. Your silence ends every game they try to play. 2. The power shift. Taking the psychological high ground. The person who reacts first loses the moment they speak. The person who stays quiet controls the entire field. Silence is not retreat. Silence is elevation. Most people rush to fill tension with words. They argue to reclaim dignity, defend themselves out of fear, or speak simply because discomfort feels unbearable. But a calm mind does not move under pressure. When you remain silent, the balance of power shifts instantly. The other person is forced to confront their own thoughts, tone, and motives. You become the one who sets the emotional temperature of the interaction. People expect counterattack, protest, or explanation. They do not expect calm. Stoic silence creates a pause that exposes everything. In that pause, you see the real nature of the person in front of you, their need to dominate, their desperation to be right, their insecurity disguised as confidence. Your stillness makes you unreadable, and what people cannot read, they cannot control. Silence becomes a mirror that reflects intent. When you refuse to react, you are no longer inside the problem. You are above it. This is the psychological high ground. From here, you respond with clarity instead of emotion. You see openings they miss. You recognize patterns they overlook. You decide without the fog of impulsive speech. Instead of fighting for position, you dictate it. Silence disarms aggression more effectively than confrontation. A calm presence unsettles those who rely on shock or intimidation. When you don't react, they lose their script. Without a script, they lose their power. Your quiet presence forces them to reveal themselves. A person who stays steady under pressure appears powerful without taking action. The quieter you become, the more others adjust their tone, posture, and words. They start measuring themselves against you. They justify, they hesitate, they negotiate with their own ego, not with you. And you've said nothing. This form of dominance isn't loud, flashy, or aggressive. It's built on self-command. Reacting surrenders control. Pausing reclaims it. Your silence bends the situation in your favor without visible effort. Hold your ground. Breathe slowly. Let tension work for you, not against you. When you speak only after your mind is calm, your words carry weight. When you wait while others rush, your presence grows larger than their noise. When you stay quiet as they expose themselves, you rise above the conflict entirely. The quieter you become, the stronger your ground. 3. Strategic silence. Making others reveal themselves. Most people fear silence. They fear the empty space between words and what might surface when noise stops. That fear is exactly why strategic silence is such a powerful advantage. When you stay quiet where others expect you to speak, you disrupt their rhythm. The pause unsettles them, and in that discomfort, they reveal more than they intended. They fill the silence with explanations, excuses, confessions, and contradictions. Without realizing it, they expose motives, insecurities, and truth. Your silence becomes pressure they cannot handle. Strategic silence is not passive, it's deliberate restraint. It forces the other person to continue without your guidance. They try to read your expression, anticipate your reaction, and rush to fill the gap before confidence collapses. In doing so, they say exactly what they were trying to hide. This is why silence is one of the purest tools of clarity. When you stay quiet, you stop reacting and start observing patterns. You notice shifts in posture, changes in tone, nervous smiles, unnecessary details, and rushed explanations. These signals reveal more than arguments ever could. Silence sharpens perception until you see people as they truly are. It is most powerful when someone is trying to manipulate, pressure, or test you. The moment you refuse the bait, their certainty weakens. They speak faster, dig deeper, and expose the core of their intent. They do the work. You conserve energy. Your silence pulls truth out of people. Imagine someone presenting a half-truth, hoping you'll accept it. Instead of challenging it immediately, you simply watch. The silence presses on them. They elaborate, backtrack, and over-explain. The truth spills out because they cannot carry the weight of your stillness. This is silent intelligence, influence without action, information without interrogation, leverage without confrontation. People trust their own words too much. They believe they can manage the story and hide their motives. Silence exposes every crack. When you stop speaking, they stop pretending. When you stop guiding, they lose control. When you stop reacting, they stop hiding. Let them fill the space. Let truth escape on its own. Let them unravel under their own pressure. Your silence is the trap they walk into willingly. 4. The intelligence of observation, seeing what others miss. The moment you stop trying to be heard, you begin to see. Silence turns attention outward. Noise blinds. Stillness sharpens. Most people listen only to reply, rehearsing arguments while the other person is still talking. Because of that, they miss what lies beneath tone, posture, hesitation, and intent. A Stoic does the opposite. A Stoic listens to understand. A Stoic watches more than they speak. In silence, you notice what others overlook. Observation becomes intelligence. When you're quiet, you stop competing for space in conversation. No need to interrupt. No urge to dominate. No fear of being outdone. Your mind becomes free to detect what others miss. You catch changes in breath, tension in shoulders, and tremors in the voice when someone lies. Every detail becomes information. Every pause becomes data. Every inconsistency becomes a clue. Silence reveals a world that noise keeps hidden. In a tense exchange, the loudest person may look confident, but the silent one sees the truth. You notice whether aggression is rooted in insecurity, whether certainty is a mask, whether kindness is genuine or calculated. Without saying a word, you learn more about them than they ever meant to show. They believe they are controlling the impression they create, unaware that you are studying the spaces between their words. Your silence becomes the advantage. Observation reveals patterns. It shows how people treat others, how they speak when no one challenges them, and how they behave when discomfort appears. These small behaviors paint a clearer picture than bold statements ever could. Long before character is declared openly, it reveals itself quietly. The silent observer notices this and adjusts expectations accordingly. Silence allows you to respond instead of react. A reactive mind is blind, too busy defending, explaining, or fighting back to see what's actually happening. A still mind is perceptive. It recognizes when to engage, when to withdraw, and when to let someone expose themselves. You conserve energy for what matters and let the rest pass without attachment. Observation becomes protection. It shields you from manipulation, keeps you from trusting words more than actions, and prevents misjudgment born from noise. When you see clearly, you choose wisely. When you choose wisely, you rise above conflict without needing to dominate it. Let others talk. Let them rush. Let them drown in noise. You remain still, aware, and in control. Silence teaches you what the careless never notice. 5. Reading patterns, not words. Stoic social intelligence. Words are easy to create, easy to disguise, and easy to manipulate. Patterns are not. Patterns reveal truth long before a person admits it. When you embrace silence, you stop relying on what people say and start paying attention to what they consistently do. This shift changes everything. Most disappointments come from believing promises instead of observing behavior. In quiet, you evaluate reality rather than stories. You see the gap between who someone claims to be and who they actually are. Silence turns you into an observer of consistency. Intentions may hide behind charm or confidence, but repetition never lies. Someone who avoids accountability once will avoid it again. Someone who becomes defensive under pressure will repeat that behavior. Respect shows itself through action, not speeches. You stop getting trapped in hopeful interpretations. You study direction, not excuses. Silence gives you the space to track truth without interference. Many people talk themselves into illusions because they react too quickly. They defend those who keep disappointing them. They believe apologies that sound sincere but lead nowhere. They cling to potential instead of paying attention to behavior. Silence breaks this cycle. When you listen without responding, patterns unfold clearly and unmistakably. Your silence becomes the filter that reveals reality. Patterns appear in tone, timing, effort, and energy. You notice who shows up only when they need something. You notice who becomes distant when you set boundaries. You notice who treats you differently depending on the audience. These shifts become impossible to ignore once you stop filling the space with your own explanations. Silence prevents you from softening the truth to make it more comfortable. A stoic mind trusts behavior over words. This isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. Human nature expresses itself through repetition, not declarations. When you observe without reacting, you begin to predict outcomes with accuracy. You know who will disappoint you before it happens. You know who deserves access and who does not. You stop investing energy in those who have already shown you who they are. Silence protects your peace by protecting your judgment. Reading patterns creates an intelligence that can't be taught. It's earned through stillness, watching instead of intervening, listening instead of defending, noticing instead of assuming. You stop chasing clarity and allow it to emerge. Let others rely on words. Let them cling to promises. You trust what repeats, what stays consistent, what reveals itself when you stop speaking. In silence, patterns speak louder than people ever will. 6. Silent boundaries. Protecting your value. The moment you stop over-explaining, a powerful truth appears. Respect grows in the space your silence creates. Most people weaken their boundaries by justifying them. They offer long explanations, soften their stance, or apologize for protecting their peace. The more they talk, the less seriously they're taken. When you state a boundary calmly and refuse to elaborate, the dynamic shifts. The other person feels the weight of your certainty. Silence reinforces what words cannot. A clear boundary delivered without emotion carries a strength that explanations dilute. It shows your decision comes from self-respect, not fear or conflict. When you don't argue, negotiate, or defend the line you set, people understand it isn't open for debate. They sense the firmness beneath your quiet tone, and that firmness earns respect, even from those who disagree. Your silence becomes the guardian of your dignity. There will always be people who test limits. Some push to see if you'll fold. Some play innocent to trigger guilt. Some escalate, hoping for an emotional reaction they can twist. None of this works when you refuse to perform. You stay calm. You stay still. Your silence communicates finality. A silent boundary isn't cold. It's mature. It says, this is where I stand. It says, my peace is not negotiable. It says, I don't need agreement for this to be valid. When someone respects you, they may dislike the boundary, but recognize the strength behind it. When they don't respect you, they resist. And in that resistance, they reveal their true place in your life. Silence lets you see the truth without drama. You don't plead for understanding or chase approval. You observe who can meet your standard and who cannot. Your silence becomes the filter that separates alignment from disruption. Think about how much energy is wasted defending choices that never needed justification in the first place. You don't need to explain why you protect your time, why you avoid chaos, why you refuse disrespect, or why you choose peace over proximity. The more you speak, the more you invite negotiation. The less you say, the more you establish that your boundary is a fact, not a debate. A Stoic understands that self-respect does not need volume. It is expressed through restraint, through clarity, through the calm certainty that comes from knowing your worth. When you hold a boundary without raising your voice, the world learns how to treat you. And if someone refuses to learn, your silence becomes an answer they cannot misread. Let your actions define your limits. Let your silence maintain them. Let your presence teach what your words no longer need to explain. When your silence carries standards, people rise to them or fall away. 7. Silent detachment, becoming emotionally untouchable. There comes a moment in personal growth when a simple truth becomes clear. Peace does not come from controlling others. Peace comes from no longer allowing others to control you. Silent detachment is the foundation of that freedom. It is the choice to step back internally while remaining present externally. You stop absorbing every tone shift, every mood swing, every implication, every projection. You stop giving emotional energy to people who haven't earned it. You stop letting external chaos dictate your internal state. Detachment creates a calm inside you that cannot be invaded. Your silence becomes a sanctuary. Most conflict isn't fueled by what others say, but by how quickly we interpret it, personalize it, and react. Detachment breaks that loop. You hear words without attaching identity to them. You witness behavior without letting it define your worth. You allow others to feel what they feel without making yourself responsible for it. This quiet separation gives you clarity that no emotional reaction ever could. Silent detachment reveals who truly holds power over your mind. If someone can provoke you instantly, they own part of you. When you remain centered while someone tries to pull you into their storm, that ownership dissolves. Their tactics lose impact. Their tone loses influence. Their attempts at control fail because you are no longer playing the emotional game they rely on. The less you react, the less access they have. Detachment is often mistaken for indifference, but it is closer to mastery. You are not cold. You are not distant. You are simply refusing to abandon yourself for the sake of pleasing or proving. You choose steadiness over chaos, restraint over impulse, perspective over pride. This kind of stability is rare, and because it is rare, it earns quiet respect wherever it appears. Your silence teaches others how to treat you. Detachment gives you space to evaluate situations without distortion. You no longer rush to defend yourself against accusations that don't reflect who you are. You no longer accept emotional invitations into arguments that lead nowhere. You no longer feel compelled to fix what others have broken within themselves. You observe, choose what deserves your energy, and release the rest. This is how you become emotionally untouchable. You rise above provocation without needing to win. You walk away from disrespect without spectacle. You guard your inner world without announcing it. Slowly, people adjust. They speak more carefully. They act with more intention. They sense that your peace is not easily disturbed. And if they refuse to adjust, your silence creates distance on its own. Let the world react. Let the noise continue. Let others reveal themselves. You remain steady. You remain rooted. You remain whole. Nothing is louder than a person who no longer reacts. 8. The silent power transformation, becoming a different force. There comes a point where silence is no longer something you practice. It becomes who you are. Your presence shifts. Your energy changes. Your mind stands taller than words ever could. This transformation isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It unfolds quietly, like a subtle change in posture or a calm certainty settling behind your eyes. You begin to understand that real influence doesn't come from persuasion or performance. It comes from the steadiness you bring into every room, every conversation, every decision. People feel the difference, even when they can't explain it. You stop rushing to prove your worth because you finally recognize it. You stop defending yourself because you trust your truth. You stop reacting because you no longer allow anyone else to control your inner climate. Your silence becomes something new, not avoidance, not withdrawal, but authority. Others notice the shift. They approach you with more care, more respect, more intention. They choose their words more carefully. They adjust their tone without knowing why. Your quiet presence creates gravity. You do nothing, yet everything responds. You become the steady center in a world addicted to noise. What once triggered you now feels small. What once demanded reaction now invites reflection. The space between stimulus and response widens until you can move through it with ease. In that space you choose deliberately. You speak only when speech serves purpose, not impulse. Your words become rare, and because they are rare, they carry weight. Your silence draws truth out without confrontation. It exposes motives without accusation. It commands attention without effort. You stop seeking understanding from others because you've built it within yourself. You stop chasing clarity because clarity comes naturally to a mind that refuses to be rushed. This transformation is not about domination, it is about self-mastery. Choosing strength over reaction, presence over noise, intention over impulse. With every quiet choice, you step further into a version of yourself that cannot be manipulated, intimidated, or unbalanced. Someone who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. Someone who doesn't need to argue to win. Someone who doesn't need to speak to reveal truth. Your silence is no longer empty. It is full. It is focused. It is powerful. Silence is not the absence of power. It is its refinement. When you stop reacting, you stop giving others control over your mind. When you observe instead of argue, you see what others miss. When you protect your peace without explanation, your value becomes undeniable. Every quiet decision shapes a stronger, clearer, steadier version of you. Carry this energy into your next conversation, your next conflict, your next decision. Let silence be your strategy, your protection, and your presence. Remember this: the world listens most closely to the one who does not need to speak.